Hello, this is Simzart, and today I'm going to talk about how to pose your character in a dynamic way using the Clip Studio Paint tools. Many illustrators start their career drawing human or human-like bodies. The choice often falls for a standard pose that looks like this. This pose is often seen also in environments like the 3D art world. Probably many of you have seen something like this. This is called T-pose, and it's a go-to choice for many reasons. Similarly to the T-pose of a 3D model, the classic pose of a stick figure is also very convenient. The convenience lies in the fact that all the limbs are visible and lifelike, so to speak, in their proportions. This makes the pose really clear and easy to draw, but unfortunately, boring. A character in this pose lacks any interesting part, and although could be a go-to choice for something like a character design, it's not a viable solution for something more exciting. Drawing a dynamic pose allows the character to express emotions just like an actor in a movie. However, drawing dynamic poses can be really challenging, and today I'm going to give some tips on how to approach this fundamental task. Let's get it done. In this video we will see what makes a pose dynamic, where to start, readability versus realism, poses and backgrounds, exercises. What makes a pose dynamic? A pose is dynamic when it gives a sense of movement and progression. This doesn't necessarily mean extreme action, which is of course an obvious example. Often it means giving a subtle sense of lifelike movement to a simple action like sitting, or just walking for example. A rigid pose is commonly seen in a beginner drawing, often as a byproduct of a very geometrical approach recommended by many art books. This approach, although really helpful and absolutely fundamental, may lead, if left unchallenged, to a difficulty in giving the sparkle of life to the characters. Where do I start? Let's get this out of the way. The only way to become confident with drawing dynamic poses is probably not surprisingly drawing a lot in general. In Clip Studio Paint, just open a file. I would recommend something not too big and start sketching, maybe creating multiple layers. No final goal, just doodles. When complete, hide the current layer, make a new layer and keep going. With that being said, there are many things an artist can do to increase the dynamism and lifelikeness of their poses. The first thing I want to mention is to draw from real life or observe reality, trying to capture what makes some movements or poses dynamic. What makes a pose dynamic is often a collection of small details and mannerisms humans have when performing any movement. The fingers of a hand rarely align perfectly. Head is rarely perfectly straight. Legs are rarely perfectly next to each other, and so on. It's also noticeable while observing humans how every pose can be simplified up to a line of action, which in art is the imaginary line that all the parts of a body during an action follow along. While drawing in Clip Studio Paint, it's possible to use a different color for the line of action, trying to complete a pose, connecting every body part to the line of action in a way that doesn't break its flow. Another tip is to remember that the body parts are not always all visible at the same time. While picking an angle to draw a character, we make a fundamental choice. We are deciding on what's visible and what is not. Clip Studio Paint can help thanks to the use of reference layers and the layer transparency. We can draw the invisible parts during the sketch phase, and then only ink the visible areas in the end. This gives a more robust look to the design, and also leads to another art fundamental that greatly helps in pretty much every aspect of the art making: perspective. We're not going to talk about perspective in this video, but let's say that an understanding, at least in general, of perspective will definitely help to make a pose more dynamic. Clip Studio Paint has many perspective tools that can help with the understanding of this concept. Readability versus realism. When drawing a dynamic pose, being realistic can help. An arm that bends in an uncommon way may break the dynamism. A pose unrealistic may turn out to be stiff and absurd. However, when looking at reference photos, we will easily notice that too much realism, especially when depicted through lines and shapes, may be hard to read and look off. In Clip Studio Paint, we can import a photo in our canvas and try to redraw it exactly as it is, to notice that just outlining a photo won't make the design dynamic at all. Too many lines or weird angles we see in reality may ruin the readability of our drawing. To get a good result, we have to find the right blend based on the style used between realism and readability. A good exercise will be in Clip Studio Paint to draw multiple versions of the same reference image with different levels of stylization. Poses. So far, we went through some of the fundamentals for drawing dynamic poses, but how do I pick a pose for my needs? First and foremost, it's important to understand what we are going to draw. Having a clear idea in mind is very important to avoid boring static poses. Once we get the idea, we can find a reference picture, make one ourselves as a model, ask a friend to try to build it up from scratch using simplified geometrical figures or posing a 3D model. Clip Studio Paint has a very nice 3D integration that will let us pose the 3D model directly in the program itself. It's also possible to quickly access pre-made poses from the Clip Studio Paint asset. The Clip Studio Paint asset has a library of downloadable poses that can be quickly assigned to our model. Once we have a character in pose, we can draw it, just like we would while looking at a photo reference. Exercises. There are many exercises that could help to improve our poses. In this section, I'll give just some examples that I believe may help. 1. Foreshortening. Placing a limb at different angles will change the size of each part. Exercising in getting a believable foreshortening that results in something still readable, it's surprisingly helpful. 2. Line of action. Use the line of action when starting to always remind to keep all the parts flowing with each other. 3. Perspective. A dynamic pose will definitely benefit an understanding of perspective. 4. Observe. Watch how people behave and pose in real life. Add mannerism and subtle twists of the body in your design to make it more dynamic. Thanks to Clip Studio Paint, many of the exercises and observational drawings can be made with ease using 3D perspective, brush tools, and many more other tools provided. Hopefully, this video helps to have a new point of view on how to approach the drawing of a dynamic pose in your art. With all that being said, that's all I have for you today, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the Clip Studio Paint official YouTube channel for more contents like this. Thank you for watching.
If you like this video, you can find more about my work on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. See you next time.